Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
And let's welcome Bill C. this morning.
Bill Alcoholic.
Hi, Bill.
Thank you. It's always good to have a roadie. Well, where the hell were the locks? I mean, really. Aren't there enough Jews to take care of that? So, what's up with the rain? You know, I guess we need it. Global warming is really good for Southern California. You know, summer all the time now. It's not supposed to be. Well, we don't have much time, and I love the Q&A thing. So I'm just going to throw out a bunch of opinions that give you some fodder, because I much more enjoy my opinions than my story. I mean, you do this often enough, you start making stuff up. You know? And it's really not lying. I'm just trying to keep my own interest. You know? And like most of us, you know, I don't really have much of a story. You know, not much happened. I'm one of those guys that started drinking and my life just stopped. You know, I mean, I was a surfer and a biker and a tough guy. And I never went to the beach. My motorcycle rarely ran, and I was afraid to fight. But I looked really good. I had a chrome Nazi helmet for a hat, a primary chain for a belt, black greasy Levi's, and big black boots with chains around them. I've got tattoos all over me. But I had a clip-on earring because I didn't want to hurt myself. My biker nickname was Horny. I have it tattooed here on my arm, and it's misspelled. It's H-O-R-N-E-Y. Horny. And, 3 of us determined that that's how you spell it. So that's pretty much all you need to know, isn't it? I mean, really. Kind of went downhill from there. You know, any speaker that you hear, the stories are similar in some aspects. I mean, the drunkalogue can be different because we come from different places and different backgrounds and cultures, and some of us came from really very, very dark, horrendous places that children should never be a part of. And then others of us were just, you know, silver spoon babies and just bad seeds, the spawn of Satan. You know? We had nice parents and all that stuff, and we just were just rotten. You know? And so the stories can be different, but there's similarities in all the stories. And one of the great similarities in AA is all of us talk about long before we ever drank, we felt this feeling of separation, that we weren't part of, that we were disconnected, that something was wrong. You know, the aliens had dropped us off and were waiting for the mothership to return. And, you know, we have different funny little ways of expressing it, and there was some kind of alcoholic behavior going on. We coin it alcoholic behavior. We'd lose ourselves in books or fantasy or food or tailpipes, hyperventilating or something. There was some weird stuff going on of some kind. And a lot of times when you hear people telling this story, they'll use a term, alcoholic thinking, as if there is such a thing. The only place you ever hear that term, alcoholic thinking, is in Alcoholics Anonymous. No one else uses that term. You know what the professional community say about us? They say that we are emotionally immature. And we hear that and we go, no! I have special thinking. I have alcoholic thinking and it's never going away. And you need to consider that when you're dealing with me. And I'm convinced we're just emotionally immature. I think that's the root of our problem. I think that's the root of it. Once we get sober, we try to make it more complex. We try to make it more deep and profound and kind of artistic and the spiritual search, coming closer to God and stuff. And I just think we're pigs. There's this genetic predisposition to being pigs, And when the difference between us and the other kids who also felt that way, all kids feel that way. If you've ever raised children, you ever been around teenagers? Man, like 8, 9 years old, you're their favorite toy. Somewhere around 10, 11, they have that look in their eye like you are the stupidest creature they've ever seen in their lives. And you don't understand, nor will you ever understand, And they feel geeky and gawky and weird and out of place, and it's part of the growing up process. The difference between us and those kids is we medicated that feeling and we never grew out of it. And we're in AA now. We're going to grow up now. And the chances of us doing that and looking good are really slim. We're going to step on our feet. We're going to say the wrong thing. We're going to be loud and petulant and whiny and cry and all that stuff. The only way that you grow up is by growing up. It's experientially. It's not an intellectual exercise. We're not going to read a book. We're not going to work a step and then everything's going to be fine. We may become spiritually awakened. We might have a profound spiritual experience. That is not going to cause us to grow up. Our perception might change. And now that we have a different perception, we're going to have a series of experiences that cause us to grow up. So, the most spiritual thing you will ever hear in Alcoholics Anonymous, bar none, is get in the car. Well, where are we going? What do you care? Get in the car. What's on your social calendar? And it's amazing how many people just can't seem to get in the car. We will never, the worst thing you can possibly say to anybody in Alcoholics Anonymous is take what you can use and leave the rest. You're going to allow me, with this finely tuned instrument that I bring to you, to make the determination what's good for me and what's not? When have I ever shown a propensity towards good value judgment in the past? Please show me the track record of that. I just need to get in the car. Somebody needs to open the door and tell me, get in the car. And at 37 years old, when I got to you, for some odd reason, I got in the car. And nothing has been the same since. And it's been a long journey. I got sober in March of 1985. I'm fast tracking behind Al, man. I've got him. He's in my sights. The percentage difference is decreasing as time goes by. And two things. Well, at 17, I was a bad drunk in high school. At 22 years old, I was in the Oregon State Mental Institution. I needed a rest. It was a short party, short party. Started drinking 14, 15 years old. 17, I'm carrying a gun, and I'm a white kid from Palisades. I mean, nobody was looking for me, you know. I mean, I have no idea. This is delusional kind of behavior, you know. I was a gangster, and there were no gangs to join, so I had a gang of one, you know. It's like, it was weird, you know. And soon after that, it was the 60s, you know, and the Hells Angels rode into Bass Lake in Fresno on the 4th of July weekend in '66, and it changed my life. You know, I found my career path, and I met her that weekend, and we went up to Oregon to grow our own, and we got married and had 2 kids, and by the time I'm 22, I'm running with an outlaw motorcycle gang. I'm sticking needles in my arm every day, and I'm drinking like a fish, and I'm not coming home to that family, and they're on welfare. We lost a house and a couple of cars and jobs, and we lost ourselves. It was horrible. Short party. I mean, the rest of the story about that feeling of separation is we have a couple of drinks and it all comes together, you know. The unity of all things presents itself, you know. And then there is synergy in our lives, you know. It's like, whoa, you know, it's a real eye-opening experience. The average drinker doesn't get that, you know, whatever that is, you know. I mean, it's a very attractive thing. You know, so I think the whole idea was to have a couple of pops and get out of the house and go to the party. I ended up naked in my living room watching religious television, taking notes. You know? I mean, I'm having sex menage a uno. There's like nobody else in the room, you know. It's like, we're partying with Billy now. It's getting serious, you know. At 22, I'm in a nut house. Anybody else here been in a mental institution? Oh, come on. I think I remember you. I mean, there's a bunch of you out there going, well, it really wasn't an institution. They were just observing me. So I came back down to California. My dad, who was sober, got sober in '54. He died in '99. He was 45 years sober. And he gave me a job in his machine shop in El Segundo, and he let me sleep in his garage. And I met another woman. We got married. We tried to make a life for ourselves, you know. And one of the reasons I know I'm an alcoholic is I quit all the hard dope, man. You know, I tried. That's what you do. That's how an alcoholic cleans up his life. He stops shooting heroin. That's a definite improvement. You know, it's a definite step up. And so what do? The experiment you try. What do? You drink on the weekends. Normal people just drink on the weekends. They don't drink during the week, so you smoke pot during the week. Because it's green and it's from God and it's not really drugs. You know? My sponsor informed me, he says, the drug bone is connected to the drink bone. It kind of makes sense, you know. It's, in my experience, you know. I mean, how many of you have sponsored a cocaine addict and he goes out and he's drinking and he says, as long as I stay away from the cocaine, I'll be okay. Could you imagine the hell of that, sitting around drinking and all you want to do is cocaine all the time? You know? I think that's alcoholism. You know, I can't drink. I don't drink like normal people. I never had a desire to drink like normal people. But I met this woman. We set up housekeeping. We had a couple of kids. And 15 years after the mental institution, 15 years, I'm 37 years old, and I'm living in the house with this woman and these 2 small children. One was 3, one was 1. And I had no emotional connection to another living human being. And I didn't know that. I don't know. You and I have no idea the depth of the egocentricity, the depth of the self-centeredness. We have no compassion. Most of us. Some are worse than others. But I have no compassion. I do not feel you in my life. I react to how you feel impacts me. That's different. I can fake emotion. I can cry at poignant beer commercials and stuff like that. Things will touch me. But they aren't you touching me. I'm not connected to you in any real sense. And at 37, I'm in the house with this wife and these 2 children, and I have no connection in my life. I'm horribly sick. As it turned out, I had hepatitis C. I'm on a transplant list now. I've been fighting it for almost 30 years now since I got sober. And it's slowly catching up to me, you know. But I was very sick. I'm a classic example. If I hadn't have stopped drinking, I'd have been dead a long time ago, because I was on death's doorstep at this time. And I went on one more drunk, and I'm up in the morning, and the sun comes up, and it's going to be another miserable day. And I don't know what happened that morning, but like any good gangster, I called my mom. God bless the mothers, you know. This is a woman that had been in Al-Anon for 30 years by that time. They're prepared. They're organized, and they're extremely efficient. And they're thinking about you all the time, you know. And she got there within a half an hour before I took that nap where you change your mind, you know. And she got me checked into a place in Costa Mesa called Starting Point. I spent 35 days in there. I went to my first shrink when I was 13 because I had rage. I spent 2 tours of duty in the mental institution and went back for a follow-up. I liked the place. This was the hospital that Ken Kesey worked in when he wrote Cuckoo's Nest. This is the ward I was on, was the one he worked on. They filmed the movie on the ward I was in. Now, I'm not bragging, but it's all I got. That's the high point of the story right there, you know. I went back some years later. I was speaking at a conference up there, and I was trying to find the place, and I was at a dinner for the other speakers and stuff, and this guy sitting next to me, a long ponytailed guy, same age, same time sober as me, came up from California, never left. And I was telling him about it, and he goes, I work there. And, of course you do, you know. And he took me over there, and we found the ward, got my picture taken next to the sign, you know. And then a few years ago, I went up to Portland to speak, and these guys from Salem, where this place is, drove up to Portland, and they made me a t-shirt, and it says Oregon State Hospital Alumni. Oregon State. And you know, I spent 2.5 years in group therapy at one time. I've been to several other shrinks and psychologists and psychiatrists. I grew up in that age. That's what you did. You know, so I've been gestalted and rolfed and primal screamed. I know more about myself than is safe to know, but it is my favorite subject, you know. So while I was in this hospital program, they made me wear a sign around my neck. I had to make the sign. We made it in crafts. It's a little rectangular piece of cardboard with a string that went through it, and it said, I am not a counselor. Because evidently there was some confusion about that. No. Then they let me out. They just let us out, don't they? Like we're okay now. Go forth, multiply. And where do we end up? Here. This is the world's aftercare program. It's Alcoholics Anonymous, you know. This is it. The inmates are running the asylum. We are the counselors. You know, so you have to stop and think about this, man. I've been married 3 times. I've been to a mental institution, locked down mental institution twice, and people ask me for relationship advice. I give it to them. I figure, hell, you can't hurt them. They're in AA. You know, it's like, this is it. Did you know that there's no referrals from Alcoholics Anonymous? Really? Let's stop and think about it. There's no place you go where you walk in and you tell them, I'm from AA, they sent me here. That place isn't there. This is it. You know? It's metal folding chairs and linoleum floors for the rest of our natural lives. Party. So I walk into AA. 37 years old, on a good day, I've got the emotional development of a 16-year-old, and this kid was not an honor student. He was not the one that's mature beyond his years. This is the kid with the problem with authority, you know. And he's alive and well, and he's frightened. They've taken away his medication. What now? I'm the guy that walks into the room, and if you're looking at me, it's like, what the hell are you looking at? And if you don't look at me, I'm heartbroken. And there's no middle ground. There is no emotional depth. Matter of fact, the depth of my shallowness knows no bounds. You know, it's like, there's nothing there. I mean, the whole psychotherapeutic community is trying to help us get in touch with whatever it is that we've supposedly suppressed. And I'm convinced there's nothing there, you know. I mean, my problem is I never developed. And the outward resentments and the loud whining, sniveling, and crap that goes along that comes out is a manifestation of that lack of depth. All it is memory-based egoic stuff, you know. It's like my reasoning somehow, my delusional reasoning for why I am the way I am, why the whole entire world outside of me is wrong and I somehow am okay. Isn't that a teenager? Isn't that just classic textbook, shallow, hasn't grown up, lack of experience, teenage behavior? That's all it is. And there's a whole industry out there that's willing to accept our money for them to sit and listen to us and try to analyze these babblings. Now, some of us are scarred. Some of us are just spoiled little brats. And that was me. I'm just a whiny, cry, spoiled little brat. Two things happened when I walked into AA that I think are just lucky. One, I just liked it. I liked it. I don't know how you get that. Some people do, some people don't. I just liked it. I found you extremely intriguing. That was to change later. But no, that's really not true. That's a joke. I still find it intriguing. I've never lost my enthusiasm for it. In almost 30 years, I've never drifted away from AA. I've been pissed off. I've had all the stuff that happens, you know, because what we're doing, the fellowship, is us practicing on each other, trying to be friends and trying to be lovers and trying to be sponsors and sponsees and brothers and sisters. It's just practice. And this is the character defect center of the known world, is Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, the worst thing we do is relationships. It's hard to do relationships when you're only in it for yourself. Like, how many times have you heard somebody in AA say, well, I had to break up with him or her. She wasn't meeting my needs. First time I heard that, I thought, oh. I didn't know why I had that reaction. Now I know why. Think of that. You know, if you've ever actually uttered that, go to a quiet place somewhere and just go inside and think about that. Is that why you're in the relationship? To have your needs met? You're not fulfilled already? So you require that in order to make yourself whole? Boy, that's guaranteed suffering. You know, that's a lot of pressure to lay on the other person. We all do it. We all do it. We're all in it, and we're trained that way. We're raised that way. That we're supposed to have our needs met. That you're supposed to somehow fulfill me. That it isn't my job to fully accept you just exactly as you are. The second thing that happened to me is I asked this man for help, and he actually helped me, which doesn't always happen in AA. Some people you can ask them for help, and they say, yeah, read the book. If you run into a problem, give me a call. He said, read the doctor's opinion, make notes in the margin of what you agree with and what you don't. Be at my house Thursday at 5:30, and we'll discuss it. And I showed up, and he did not trust me that I'd read it, and he had me sit there and read it to him out loud. Rule number 1 when you're sponsoring people, make sure they read the book. Read it with them. You could probably use it, you know. Read it with them. Don't just give them assignments. Sit there. You read a page, he reads a page. You read a page, he reads a page. And talk about it. And in that process, everything that needs to be talked about will be talked about. All of it. You'll realize how much you know, that you know more than you thought you did. You'll also realize after a period of time that the person that you've come in and asked you for help knows a lot too. And he's bringing something to the table, something to teach you. You're going to learn something. This is how we learn compassion. This is how we learn it. The first step says that we're powerless. As human beings, we have trouble with that. In AA, they took it easy on us. They just said that we were powerless over the alcohol because they didn't want us to run screaming down the street. My experience is, my understanding now, my knowingness through experience, I believe, is I am utterly and absolutely powerless over absolutely anything and everything. I don't see anything else in nature that has any power. Creatures in nature just do what they do. We just do what we do. And we are under the illusion that we are the author of what's going on. You know, we're under this delusion. That's the human delusion. That's the egoic mind that is telling us that we can change somehow the outside world around us to make us more comfortable. I think the idea of really coming to terms with true personal powerlessness is a good, positive thing. Because even if I think I have power, I don't. So I'm guaranteed to suffer in my life. Evidently, my happiness is dependent upon your behavior because I spend an inordinate amount of time trying to adjust you so that the two of us can be just a little bit happier. I'm trying to bring you to the light, you know. We have such a difficult time with powerlessness. We suffer over everything. We judge things. We look around the world and we say this event was good and this event was bad. There's no morality in nature. Things just are. We add the morality. We create the right and wrong. We create the duality that does not exist. We create that. It doesn't exist in nature. There's no justice in nature. Stuff just is. And we suffer over that. I suffer over that. I don't like it. We make up parables that someday in the future, when things are good, everything will be better. You know, because right now the present moment is just shit. You know, so we create hope like it's a positive thing. We all walk around here talking about hope. What's hope? Hope is a negation of what's happening right now. That everything right now is okay. They asked the Dalai Lama one time, what's the ultimate spiritual truth? And he looked at me, he smiled, and he goes, all is well. And he waited, that pause that he has, if you ever heard him, is really very endearing. And he looks at you very deeply and he says it very slowly so that you can understand. All is well. And I have trouble with that. You know? I mean, I believe he's right. I believe it. And I work towards that. I try to stay in the present moment if possible. If I can grasp the powerlessness just a little bit, just over the alcohol and drugs, it makes the second step operational. And the second step says, I need to align myself with the power. I need to be restored to sanity. Certainly enough sanity not to drink and use, but also enough sanity to see the powerlessness. This is the beginning of acceptance. That in and of myself, I can't make this happen to me. I have to seek it. If I can do that, the third step becomes operational. The third step's interesting. We're going to turn our life and will over to what already has it anyway. I think it's nice of them to lead us to believe that we have some say in the matter. But isn't that the classic alcoholic position? There's the universe and me. You know? Stop and think about it. It's not possible for us to be separate from nature. It's physically, literally impossible to be separate. The separation is in here. It's not real. Ever. Ever. We are connected all the time. AA is a process of elimination, that getting rid of whatever's blocking us from seeing that it's all okay already. Nothing needs to be acquired in order for it to be okay. It's okay right now. But the alcoholic says, well, I've been withholding myself from the totality of all things long enough. I'm going to acquiesce and allow you to take me. Thank you very much. We have these long, windy discussions about my will compared to God's will. Stop and think about that. Isn't that the height of arrogance? To think that we could have a battle of wills with the power that drives the entire universe. Like somehow we're separate from it. We're doing battle, you know. I don't think there's any difference between my will and God's will at all, ever.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think.
I think I just do what I do, and I learn from the experiences. Some are positive, some are not so. But it's the way it is. The fourth step is the life and will that's talked about in the third step. It's the resentments, fears, and broken relationships. The fifth step is the ceremony that we go through to complete the third step. The fourth step is the end result of living a life with seeming power. We're filled with resentment and fear. And what kind of relationships could we have other than broken, dramatic, and traumatic ones if what we're bringing to the table is resentment and fear all the time, over and over and over again? Looking for people to fix us. And 6 and 7 are 2 paragraphs in the book about character defects. Nothing for us to do, and we'll be doing that nothing for the rest of our lives. You can see what the character defects are. They're in the 4th column of the resentment list. It says, what were my faults and mistakes? There they are. Okay. 8 and 9 is the first assignment the manager gives us. He says, I'm going to help you get rid of the resentments. The mechanism for ridding ourselves of resentments is the amends process. Most people in AA do not do this. And they keep waiting for their ship to come in. I'm here to report to you, it ain't coming. 1 through 9 is about 10-15% of the program. It's the bare minimum. It's Sober 101. It's what we have to do in order to develop a message that has some kind of depth and weight that we can carry on to other people, which is the rest of the program. The entire program is that. 10 is the continuing inventory process of what happened to me. I was awakened in March of 85. The rest of the journey is to take that awakening and turn it into some kind of an awareness where I'm aware that I'm awake and maybe there's something I can do with this. Maybe there's a reason why I'm here. Maybe it's not about me, huh? What do you think? Maybe it's not about self-improvement. Maybe it's not about me. Maybe it's something else. 11, in meditation, you can actually separate yourself from your egoic mind. You can focus on your breath and you can watch the thoughts go. When you focus on your breath, the mind wanders and it wanders away and you catch it. You realize, you recognize that it's wandered away from the breath and you gently bring it back to the breath. Absolute, conclusive proof that you and I are not our thinking minds. If that is who we are, we could not catch it. Now, it thinks it's me, and I think it's me. I'm in collusion with it. In AA, we even talk about it in the third person. You know, we say, my head's out to get me. We make it adversarial. It's who we are. I don't think it's out to get me. It's trying to help. It's just stupid. You know, it's flat and two-dimensional. It just takes the past and projects it into the future over and over and over again. Once I've recognized that it isn't who I am, it changes the entire game. It is the end of self-obsession, the beginning of the end of it. I don't have to work on myself anymore. It's over. Thank God. You know, thank God. I've been relieved of the bondage of self. Because now I know. I don't have to be a victim of it. I don't have to whine and snivel about it. It isn't about how my day went at all. It's much more about you than it is about me. And the 12th step is why we're here. People will tell you, you got to give it away to keep it. No. You have to give it away to even get it. You know, I mean, that is what should everybody sponsor? There's nothing else to do. Everything else is an activity, and they're all good, but never confuse the activity for the action. You want your life to change? Sponsor people. Everything will change. You'll run into every character defect. You'll have all the experience necessary to grow and function as an adult. You exercise the compassion muscle. Within compassion is patience and tolerance. If I have compassion, I will be patient and tolerant. So for some whatever reason, I can feel you in my life. Thank you.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down. And then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.